In Shippuden, we find out most of the story and how Konoha came to be. Without going through the nitty-gritty of stuff people already know, I'll just say that after some time, the Senju clan and the Uchiha clan started their own village, and the leaders of this negotiation being, surprise surprise, the first Hokage Hashirama and the infamous Madara, essentially dapped each other up and said, you know what, you're a real one, after bodying half the ninja world, and Konoha was born. But what if Madara had chose a different alliance? One where they also have an abundance of chakra, maybe even more than the Senju in some cases, depending on the mastery, but also have a mastery of sealing known to their kin as sealing masters, and scroll jutsus to a degree tailed beasts become domesticated. So essentially, the Uzumaki have that dog in them. Finally, just like the Senju, they also were and are direct descendants from the Sage of Six Paths, being directly from the line of the younger brother Ashura. In this video, we'll dive into the ways this may affect the story and potential strength of these two clans together at the end of the Warring States era and beyond. First and foremost, the story could flip upside down and change drastically, but it all depends on how one person will grow up, or rather be affected by this, and it isn't really a Hokage or founder in my opinion. The main question would be what would happen to Obito Uchiha. With him being a Uchiha, would he not only be part of this new village, but also have more family around, so theoretically more Kamui? Madara could still have his feud with Hashirama, in my opinion. It could easily be made into a different main reason, with just manipulating the Uchiha distress storyline and have old grudges manifested from their prior wars. But the bigger problem, I feel, is would Obito end up anywhere near the situation he was originally in, therefore pushing him to do the plans that would set Kaguya into motion. There's a couple of reasons I'm not too sure if it would change, at least early on in the story with Obito, but it's hard to say for certain what would change. One, because at least in the anime, Obito doesn't know his parents and is taken care of by his grandparents, and if we're to assume it's because of war, then that may still be the case, unless I missed something early in Obito's story. The second reason is Rin, like everyone probably guessed, and she's definitely the wild card of this situation. Because without her being targeted and Obito losing his shit, the fourth Great Ninja War may not even have happened, because going back to Shippuden, Black Zetsu pretty much admitted to not being 100% sure he would ever get the right circumstances that led to the war, even if he did say it in an arrogant-ass way. Rin being from the Nohara clan means that she would probably still be in the Senju village, because that was made with them being part of the first Hokage who merged with the Uchiha when Konoha was created. And there isn't any reason for Obito to be there without the Uchiha, but if maybe Rin had to transfer villages to train like a Kushina reason, like she did with her adamantine chains, with her sealing jutsus with the Maito Uzumaki, the wife of the first Hokage, then maybe there'd be a possibility of them meeting at a young age, or having another character beat Obito's Rin, someone else that's close to him that fits the requirements of the story, maybe even would become a Jinchuriki as well like Rin did. I feel like that could possibly be the biggest plot hole in all of this, and I don't blame you for calling it out, but it's up to you in your own headcanon on that one, and if you want to accept it or not. There is ways you could probably work around it, I feel, for me, but I could understand if some people don't want to have any leeway on that. If there's anything I'm missing that could change for Obito, let me know in the comments, but honestly, those are the two that would need to be a reasonably fixed point in Naruto history if it's to stay closely aligned with this, and it doesn't seem like we have that much information on either. So when you think about it, it all depends if you believe that event, or can think of your own way of how those events could still lead up to the Psycho Obito and Dumpstered Rin. Also have to keep in mind that there would still probably be a Hidden Leaf village that would also be closely tied to the Uzumaki, because the first Hokage, Hashirama, took Maito Uzumaki, who we mentioned earlier, as his wife, which is where Naruto and Tsunade's relation is from. Obviously, Naruto's life would probably be different, but it is fair to say he would still become a Jinchuriki since his mother Kushina was. Now that we have this Obito situation out of the way, I can go back to the Uzumakis, which the wife of the first Hokage I mentioned is actually the daughter of the founding leader of the Uzumaki village, Uzushio, translating roughly to village hidden in the eddies, and inviting smaller clans and wanderers to join them. When before Konoha was created, they lived in the land of whirlpools on an island, and at least to me sounded like they were the Ninja World Coast Guard to some extent. After some time during the early era of hidden villages and after the second Great Ninja War started, the village hidden in the mist used the six-tailed slug to invade Usushio with their restraining and sealing jutsus. That wasn't enough to destroy them outright, but I wonder if the Uchiha had been there, would they have won the battle? As we've seen with Madara and Obito, it seemingly doesn't take a lot to put a tailed beast in Genjutsu, whereas sealing is implied to take not only time, but usually more effort or chakra. So it kind of balances out. I could be wrong on that one, but granted the Uzumaki have more chakra, but with the visual prowess support of the Uchiha, I argue that they could have pushed back the two-part invasion from the Hidden Mist with the tailed beast and ground troop mix. Maybe even without the incoming Konoha reinforcements, but that one's way more debatable. This of course brings into question and starts one of the last pieces of this video, which is theoretically, how strong would this village really be? Even with the few full-blooded Uzumaki we've seen, we know that they can be destructive or purely support, as seen with Nagato, Kushina, and Karin. Nagato alone would be a great asset to the Uchiha Uzumaki village, especially if for some reason Madara still gave Nagato the Rinnegan for safekeeping, which would technically make a little more sense because then they would both be from the same village, but honestly pain could still been created with someone else in Nagato's place, especially with more Uzumaki to choose from to create an Akatsuki, or at least a different version of it. The new Uzushio with the Uzumaki and Uchiha would later on around the Boruto era of the story produce some of the strongest hybrid ninja with ocular prowess of Uchiha going through the Sharingan to Rinnegan evolution, and the Uzumaki's insanely powerful life force energy, allowing them to survive near fatal injuries most would be folded from, on top of things I mentioned earlier, such as sealing, restraining, the chains that Kushina has, for example, and weapon scroll jutsus and masks, including the Death Reaper seal, as well as rare seals that control living beings, but also something I didn't mention earlier, the third eye Kagura. The third eye Kagura, in my opinion, is the Byakugan on crack for the Uzumaki with their massive chakra reserves. Only a few had this, and I'm guessing that's because the amount of RNG you needed to be born with this was probably Hagoromo chakra levels of crazy. Obviously, it could sense chakra, but unlike the Byakugan, it took no effort to sense chakra with it, and they could sense for kilometers at a whim. They could tell what type of creature, the quantity and quality of the chakra from it. This also made them a walking lie detector test because they can see the fluctuations of your chakra when you're capping. Of course, in the combat, this made it easier because they could see enemies concentrating chakra whenever they tried to use a jutsu or attack. Imagine a Uchiha Uzumaki with the Mind Kagura and also able to copy all jutsus, Sharingan, Rinnegan, on top of higher life energy and chakra and OP sealing jutsus to make anyone shut up and shut them up quick. The only real thing that stumps me in this is Itachi's storyline and the effects on Sasuke through that as well. And if that would really affect the story in the long run, I'm kind of 50-50 on if the effects of Orochimaru would have, because he would still probably be a thing, but who knows how that would go down and how different the Akatsuki would be. Who really gives a fuck about Danzo? But with the Uzumaki and Uchiha powerhouses, who knows how the story would really go, but I'm pretty sure it would be amazing. Of course, I believe this is the type of power Boruto is heading towards and will end up at, so exploring how cracked it could have been right off the bat with the mixing of clans and their respective Gekkei Genkais to see more variation of powers we learned about all the way back in the beginning, instead of only making them more amped or powerful, but also different in style and use. Let me know how different the story would look for you with the Uzumaki and Uchiha village. There's a lot of different variations I could see for it, so just let me know if you're up to writing a paragraph down in the comments. I don't mind. I'll definitely read all of them. If you disagree with me, I don't mind. I'll just go through and look through some of them, and if you have solid points, then I can genuinely agree. I'm not going to just argue against something if I'm obviously wrong. And if there's some comment questions you would be willing to answer down there too, if you don't want to edit the storyline, then there is there anything else you think would change with the Uchiha being outside of Konoha, and would it affect the storyline more than I said, and how so? And maybe Itachi's childhood would probably be less colorful, to say the least. But I appreciate you stopping by for the video. I've been Ninbiss. If you've enjoyed what you've heard, that would really help me out if you left a like on the video, and if you subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it. And I We'll take any suggestions for the next video. I have a few more lined up. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.